Work to get that on. It's a Catino, and that's it! Work to get that on. It's a Catino, and that's it! A one-time shot, and it's 2-2. Work to get that on. It's a Catino, and that's it! Work to get that on. It's a Catino, and that's it!
Are you looking to play at the next level? MSN is now offering player recruitment videos. We are excited to partner with you and your family in getting you to the next level. To learn more about our packages and what we offer, head over to the MichiganSoccerNetwork.com. Remember, your journey starts with a click.
Now Worrell has a good cutback from him. He'll fire one, and that's going to go in! Michigan Soccer Network, man! DCFC! Woo!
The sights, the sounds of historic Keyworth Stadium. There's nothing quite like it. Each week, Jonathan Turner and Neil Rule will break down the most recent Detroit City FC USL Championship match, taking a look at the Eastern Conference standings, looking ahead to their upcoming match, and much more. Watch the Detroit City FC recap show each week on the Michigan Soccer Network.
Let's go City on the Michigan Soccer Network.
You are watching the Michigan Soccer Network.
As the voice of Michigan student athletes, the Student Advisory Council's role
is to convey the message of how high school sports are supposed to be played.
We are responsible for helping the MHSAA maintain a positive and healthy atmosphere
in which interscholastic students can thrive.
We believe athletes should be competitive,
sportsmanlike, and excel academically.
We believe students in the stand should have fun,
but not take the focus away from the game. We believe coaches should act as teachers,
helping student athletes develop while still keeping high school sports in perspective.
We believe that parents should always be positive role models
and be supportive of their child's decisions.
We believe officials commit their own time to high school sports.
And respect should always be shown and given to them.
The most important goal for student athletes is to enjoy high school sports
while maintaining a high level of respect for all those involved in the games.
Enjoy the game.
Are you looking to take your game to the next level? Did you know that MSN is now offering player recruitment videos? Our packages include a player profile where you show your preferred positions, the club, the league, or school that you play in, your current coach contact information, and more. The highlight videos could be self-submitted, 15 to 30 clips that will be put into a 3 to 7 minute long video. Video review of your Huddle, VO, or other platforms that you might have video on, as well as for an additional charge, MSN can come out and film games for you to create those clips. Our coach evaluation process, which is also an additional charge, where we have college coaches from various levels across the United States that will review your game film and provide feedback on how to improve that film, as well as also evaluating your play and what you can improve on. To learn more about our packages and what we offer, head over to the MichiganSoccerNetwork.com. Remember, your journey starts with a click.
Our mission is to help players take their game to the next level and reach their potential. Not only do we help develop fundamental technical skills such as ball control in tight spaces with different surfaces, dribbling at speed and changing direction, using a variety of 1v1 skills to create space, receiving on a half turn, hook turn, and out of the air, finishing off the dribbling, one-touch, volleys, and headers. We help players get comfortable performing these skills at game speed, with pressure, and with both their dominant and non-dominant foot. In addition, we help players with their speed of play, awareness of space, defenders and teammates, and also dominate with their off-the-ball movement. We offer a variety of services such as one-on-ones, small groups, large groups, as well as team sessions. We have an experienced coaching staff that is professional, friendly, patient, while still holding players to high standards and holding them accountable. No matter what level you're at as a player, I'm confident we can help you get better. Over the past 3 years, we've built one of the best soccer-specific training facilities in the country and developed one of the most detail-oriented programs to help out players. Visit our website.
I'm a husband. I'm a father.
I'm a sister.
I'm a son. I'm a brother.
I'm a daughter. I'm a sister.
I'm a referee.
I'm a referee.
I am a referee.
I'm a referee.
In for Baccarat, and that goes in! Hugo Baccarat gives Flint City a 3-2. Buckley, oh, the ball falls to Buckley. One-on-one with Etheridge. What a save!
Welcome into the first ever MSN All-State Media Day for girls soccer. Jonathan Turner alongside Dan Stickrat.
Ball comes in, a good head! 1-0! Shot, another save from Etheridge! Rebound, and it goes in the back of the net. The Bulldogs up 1-0! Burzma, but then for Vlasma! 3-0! Stewart Heights with a shot! Upper 90 and in!
Effectively today here on the Michigan Soccer Network, we are launching our new division of player recruitment videos.
Mario Canoe now finds Stock. Finally, Stock's got a left-footed banger. He shoots it! It's in! The Red Hawks equalize! Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back in MSN Live here on this Wednesday, May the 15th. Jonathan Turner alongside Mr. Dan Stickrat. Excited to have you along here today. And, you know, Dan, it's been a busy time here at MSN. I think busy's maybe an understatement. Maybe, you know, yesterday was a big day for us. I mean, we kind of, and today's a big day as well, but yesterday's a big day. I mean, we published a 46-page magazine called MSN Magazine that's now available officially on our website. You know, we pushed it out into social media. I mean, it's you know, it's out there. MSN Magazine. It's officially a thing now.
It's officially a thing.
Officially a thing.
We've talked about it for quite a while, and now it's official.
It is official. So yeah, check it out at the MichiganSoccerNetwork.com. We'll have some graphics come across your screen here throughout the show here this morning, and you know, we are in the thick of things here right now in the high school soccer world, in the amateur soccer world, in the professional soccer world, in the youth soccer world. We are in the thick of all of it. And first off, we want to say thank you for all your support, tuning in here each and every week and on our broadcasts and everything that we do here on the Michigan Soccer Network. Our partners are right below there on your screen. Hey, throughout the show, as they do always, they'll just be rotating down there. We've got a tryout show coming up here in the first part of June. We'll highlight the top clubs here and clubs from around the state of Michigan as it relates to youth soccer. Hey, Dan, a lot going on this weekend here in the state of Michigan. Not only are we covering 8 games this weekend, there's also happens to be the MSYSA State Cup quarterfinals and semifinals taking place here this weekend up in Saginaw. We actually have a preview show that me and you'll be recording here later today in regards to that. That's part of our new relationship with the Michigan State Youth Soccer Association. So we'll actually do all of that here later this afternoon. Our Detroit City FC recap shows, not one, but 2, launched here this morning. Neil Rule and I covered the men's huge win over the Houston Dynamo last Tuesday night in penalties on the 11th kick. And we talked about that along with their tie this past week over the reigning champions of the USL Championship, Phoenix Rising, and also talked about the upcoming match of the round of 16 that Detroit City will travel to Indy 11 here coming up on Wednesday. So we did that yesterday morning at 8:30. Neil and I. Every Tuesday, Neil and I hop in the studio, 8:30 in the morning, record it in one take, by the way, everybody. That's a one-take shot. We do not, stop. We just roll with it. And then after that, I met with David DeWahey, the head coach of the USLW side of Detroit City FC, and we did our recap show of that yesterday, right after Neil Rule. That launched here this morning at 9:30 on our YouTube channel. And then after that, Dan, I got with the UPSL Midwest East conference manager Santiago Almeida, and we did our UPSL recap show at noon yesterday, and that will launch here today at 11 a.m. on our YouTube channel. So a lot going, and so much more coming your way here in the coming days and weeks as we continue to push out, I would say, astronomical amounts of content.
Yeah, you start with DCSC, they're in the meat of their schedule, but that wasn't, not too many teams in the lower tiers of soccer can say they beat an MLS side.
No.
I mean, you look back in the last, MLS started, I believe, in 1996. How many times has it happened? Dozen? 15? I'm not sure. But
I mean, they've done it 2 years in a row.
But it doesn't happen very often overall.
No, it does not. We talk about that a lot. I mean, the reality is that, and I've talked about this with a lot of coaches over the years, not just professional coaches or high school coaches, but coaches from all different levels. And there's this common, and I remember I had this conversation specifically with a JUCO college coach, and I made the comment, that if you go up and you play against an NAIA school, Division II, Division III, Division I program, when Michigan State rolls into Oakland University, Michigan State should win that game. Right?
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm not nothing against Oakland University, but when Michigan shows up at Oakland University on a Tuesday night in October, Michigan should win that game. When Detroit City FC rolls into Houston, Houston should win that game. Why? Because common sense would tell you that a team that's playing at a higher division would be better than you. I mean, that's just common sense. In the soccer world, we know that, it's not always about talent. It's always sometimes about, who wants it more. There's a lot of other factors that go into winning or losing a game. But at the end of the day, when a team that's in a higher division, we talk about this, Kentucky University, right?
Let's think of the same thing.
They should have rolled Oakland. They should have rolled them. Now they didn't, because what did Kentucky do? They took them for granted. Okay. And Oakland played lights out. So when that happens, remember, look what happened in 1980. In 1980, the Olympics, right? Russia had just beat U.S. 10-0, a week before the Olympics. And then they go in there and they win. Right? So there are teams that are supposed to beat you. I remember growing up, I played for the North Metro Rangers, and every time we played against Vardar, the expectation was that we were going to lose and they were going to win. That was the expectation. And every time we played them, we lost to them, especially early on in my career playing soccer. And then we once tied. It was like we had won the national championship, Dan, when we tied them. Legitimately, we felt like we had just won something very big. So I mean, when a team that plays in the second tier is beating a first tier team, that's a big deal. And Detroit City has found a way, not once, not twice, but 3 times in their history of beating an MLS team in the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, years ago, when it was the Michigan Bucks, the Bucks did it.
Yeah.
Obviously, their season doesn't start till this weekend, so USL League 2 teams no longer compete in the U.S. Open Cup. But it happened. But I'm saying, nationally, over the last 28 years, how many times does it happen? I'd like to see that stat, but it can't be very many times.
It can't be.
A dozen times, maybe, if that.
And again, you saw John Glass go up on Jimmy Fallon the Tonight Show here, and I want to give a shout out to Patrick Reyes. He said, "Congrats on the magazines. Thanks for all that you do." Hey, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you, Patrick, because honestly, there's a lot of. I would think that we need to do a better job, Dan, and me and you, and thanking all of the coaches, the parents, the players. Not that we aren't doing that on some level, I think, on a daily basis, but I make it very, it's important that we oftentimes we do that. We acknowledge the fact that there are a ton of coaches and players and parents out there that are so involved and engaged with what we do, that are on our website every single day, posting scores, so we appreciate all that you do for helping support us, because without the support of the community in soccer in Michigan, then this wouldn't even be possible, right? So But, back to this whole Detroit City FC, Houston Dynamo, thing. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. And I know that Houston's going to downplay it because they have been downplaying it. Their head coach is like, yeah, they're like a second division team. We're here, they're there. Well, that doesn't make it look any better for you. I mean, I'm sorry. You just got your butt kicked. I don't care if it was in penalties or not. You lost to a team that's below you. You should be like, if I'm that coach, I'd be sitting up there going, yeah, we lost. We lost. And yes, it's in penalties. And while they can go either way, penalties can go either way. You were up in that game 2 goals ahead at one point in that game. Not once, but twice. And in that scenario, not once, but you're up by 2 goals, and that's in that game, and you let them come back. It wasn't like it was a 0-0 game and no one scored any goals, and then you go into penalties and it's a 50-50 shot, someone wins. No, you were up. You were leading in that game. So, and you let them come back into the game. Take your lumps. You lost to a team that was below you, and they came into your home field in front of your home crowd, and they won.
It'd be the same thing like if Major League Baseball did a national tournament with all the AAA and AA teams and had the Mud Hens, like Toledo Mud Hens or someone.
Playing against the Yankees.
Come in, and then the AAA team wins. The same concept, like a G League in basketball coming in a tournament with the NBA teams and one of them upsetting an NBA team.
Yeah.
Same concept. It shouldn't happen.
It should never happen. And again, it's not because I'm a huge Detroit City FC fan. I'm a fan of all soccer in Michigan. So I said this on the recap show. Like, I'm a fan, and I do feel like Detroit. And for whatever reason, just because of our market or whatever it might be, me and Neil talked about this yesterday, Dan, where I feel like every time Detroit is in the national spotlight, it's like, well, they shouldn't have. They got lucky. Or it's a fluke. I mean, obviously we know at the Detroit Lions that everybody, including us at this table in this room right now, are going, when's it gonna fall apart? Right? We're waiting for the train to derail. Right? That's that's how we are as Lions fans. Right? But even when the Pistons won it in 2004 against the LA Lakers, right? They shouldn't have won that. They shouldn't have won that series. They were not picked to win that series. No one had them picked. They went in there and rolled them in 5 games. It was 5 games. They won the 5th game, right? They lost 1 game in that series, right? So, I mean, they rolled them. And, so I always feel like Detroit is just given, and it's like.
We could pull analogies all day. I mean, you take like the NCAA, like men's and women's basketball tournament. It used to be Power 5 conference schools would always be the ones in the Final Four. But the last 20 years, how many upsets have we seen? How many times have we seen an 8, 9, 10, 11 seed in the Final Four? Virginia Commonwealth did it. George Mason did it. Wichita State did it. I mean, there's been several in the last 10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
And, it's just maybe it's the way that the sports model is changed, where there's so much better coaching, so much better training, at the youth and college levels. The nutrition's better. People play their sport year-round. It's not just you pick up a baseball bat in April, you put it down in July, you pick up the football helmet or the soccer ball in August, you put it down, and then in the winter you pick up the basketball or you put on your skis or your wrestling outfit. It's not, even if you play multiple sports, people don't stop. They compete year-round with ID camps and camps of all types. Their club teams, passing camps in football, whatever the case is. And I think maybe that is slight reason why some of these lower tier teams in every sport across the board sometimes do spring that upset, because it's happening more and more on the general scope of sports, where minor league teams or lower level college teams are pulling upsets, and you're starting to see a huge increase in that.
Yeah, and that's why when you see John Glasgow on the Tonight Show, he's like, basically, you don't know who DCFC is. Like, he's like basically like, the lack of better terms, like F off. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know who we are. Like, what the hell? We've only been like, Neil and I talk about this all the time. Like, Detroit is like the #1 media market in all of the USL Championship when it comes to viewers. and viewing and ratings. Well, how is that possible? I mean, it's Detroit, right? They play in Hamtramck at historic Keyworth Stadium, which, you know, I know that when you talk to, when you think, and again, for those of you who have never been to Keyworth Stadium before, you don't know what it's like when you walk into it, right? It's historic, and just like anything historic, it's got some quirks to it, right? I mean, it's got some dust on it, right? I mean, they've done a great job making that facility better than what it was, but it's still a 180-year-plus old facility. I mean, it's smack dab in the middle of old. I mean, right there in Hamtramck. I mean, it's
right next to the Hamtramck Yard for the railway.
Yeah,
I mean,
the thing about that stadium, which all the negatives that you might take as a player, like if you're walking into, you know, Comerica Park, you're walking into Ford Field, you're walking into Little Caesars Arena. I mean, there's not a comparable there. I mean, if you're putting that stadium up against the other three, you're gonna be, you know, really sad, you know, and again, it's one of those things where I look at that stadium and say, okay, well, yeah, you know, I'm sure the locker rooms aren't like the best. You know, I'm sure they're probably not the biggest, but that's the home to Detroit City FC. And to be fair, it's kind of like part of their whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just really kind of a cool, tight-knit, really intimate stadium that gives you all the things that you'd want in a soccer environment that you might just not get anywhere else in this country.
The intimacy is a good word. The atmosphere is a good word, because when I go to Keyworth and Hamtramck or the old Atwood Stadium in Flint, they're old. I mean, they're really old, but there's something cool about those old stadiums.
There is.
I mean, I enjoy going to those two spots to watch games.
We Dan have gone to Columbus Crew Stadium, the old. I think you went to Columbus Crew Stadium, not Laura.com. You went to Columbus Crew with me, I think, last year. You did not.
Able to make it.
All right, so we went to the old Columbus Crew Stadium. It's the first ever MLS stadium exclusively built for soccer in this country. Was in Columbus at the old Columbus Crew Stadium. They call it historic Columbus Crew Stadium now. I think it sat in its heyday 19,000, upwards of 23,000. There have been many games played there, right? But when you walk into that place, you walk into the press box, it's a shithole. It is. And I don't mean that to be derogatory towards the stadium, but they don't take care of it anymore. Why? Because nobody goes there except for, no one sits in the press box anymore and calls games. I think we're the only ones that have done that. Everybody else is on the field, playing on the field, but they have not taken care of it. Why? Because Laura.com, which is the brand new billion-dollar, whatever you want to call it, stadium in downtown Columbus, is unbelievable. I've been in both stadiums. It's night and day how those stadiums have been built. It's not even close.
And it's like not even 30 years apart, you know?
No. So, if tomorrow Detroit City FC was like, hey, we're going to build a stadium, you bet your bottom dollar it's going to be 10 times, 100 times better than what Keyworth is, as it should be. And to be fair, we go to a lot of colleges, Dan, where high schools in this area have way better facilities than the college. We go to a lot of them that are like that.
That's true. I mean, especially you go out to Grand Rapids area. I've had the pleasure of going to places like Rockford and East Kentwood and Hudsonville.
Yeah.
I mean, Rockford Athletic Complex, their field house and all their fields, and they keep building more and more. They're building more and more turf fields, and they're putting, you know, they have so many baseball and softball diamonds. Their football and track and field facility. I mean, it looks like a college. It really looks like a college. And I guess if you're a student out in those types of districts, you should feel blessed because you have better facilities than where you might play in college.
And it's 100% the case in a lot of smaller colleges. And it's not because these colleges don't intend to have great facilities, but it comes down to money. And, you know, the money is rather spent on the pitch than on the court than on, all the bells and whistles that you'll get at a Big Ten or Power 5 school, right? So, but, you know, the reality is Detroit City FC did a great thing. Hey, this weekend as well, which we talked about how we recorded this DCFC recap show on the men's side. We recorded, obviously, the one for the women's side with David DeWahey yesterday. And we had a chance of covering our first Flint City AFC match this past Saturday, Dan. And, you know, first off, it didn't disappoint. You know, any time you see the two top teams or the top three teams in a league going up against each other, you're in for a good night. And that's what it was on Saturday. Was it the prettiest of soccer? No, it wasn't. And that's expected in a game in which these teams probably just came together over the last week and a half. Probably only had a couple of practices or trainings under their belt.
Yeah, a lot of those are college kids. They're just finishing their exams the last 2 weeks. They just got home and they're already, coming together. Even though if a lot of them played together in club soccer or in high school or even on college teammates, majority of them were in different campuses over the past year, so they weren't training together. It takes a little bit of time to get back together, start that cohesive, up again. Because those two rosters, in terms of if you follow women's soccer, like at the collegiate level and the youth level, those are two all-star rosters. You look at the types of colleges these kids are playing at or are heading to in the fall. It's pretty impressive.
It's extremely impressive, and I think, Dan, that again, the reality is while all these kids these young ladies are coming back from college, some are coming from high school. We'll talk about that a little bit. It's not just like you just pop them on the field and they're going to be successful. There's in order for good teams to go far, they have to have some cohesiveness. They have to come together as a team, and that takes some time. And that's unfortunately a byproduct of an early season game in which you just leave college in your spring seasons and you're coming out and you're playing in these women's amateur leagues. So, but hey, it was a great game. A 59th minute goal from Emily Paget, assisted by Lily Jekyll. It was all the difference in that one on Saturday, and we had a chance to call that game. It was like I said, a great game to call. Those two teams will see each other again this Saturday at 7 p.m. at Keyworth. So, hey, if you don't like seeing the same opponent for one game when you see them back to back, you're in for a treat if you're a member of those two teams. But they're going to go back at it again here this weekend, and I'm sure that will be just as a fun of a game as it was for us here on Saturday night. Dan, we're going to take our first break, but when we come back here on MSN Live, we'll talk more about this MSN magazine. We'll talk about some things that have been released over the last couple of days, some things that we're doing here this weekend. We've got a lot of games this weekend, Dan. 8 games in total, so we will talk about that and so much more. You're watching MSN Live here on this May the 15th. 57 degrees outside. We're live in our Shelby Township studios. We'll be right back. Now Worrell has a good cutback from him. He'll fire one, and that's going to go in! Granite City Food and Brewery has 2 Michigan locations in Troy and Northville. Serves made-from-scratch food, brews in-house beer, and even has brunch every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. To learn more about their daily specials or to book a private party, visit gcfb.com. Make sure you head over to Granite City in Northville at the corner of 7 Mile and Haggerty, or the Troy location at 16 Mile and I-75.
Are you looking to play at the next level? MSN is now offering player recruitment videos. We are excited to partner with you and your family in getting you to the next level. To learn more about our packages and what we offer, head over to the MichiganSoccerNetwork.com. Remember, your journey starts with a click.
What rhymes with great?
Participate.
Where does greatness start? Here, in the classroom. On the diamond.
In the pool.
On the field.
Where will your greatness take you?
To better grades.
To more friends.
Yeah! Be great.
Participate!
And welcome back here into MSN Studios here on this Wednesday, May the 15th. Dan, tomorrow is my 16th wedding anniversary. So, I don't know what they call it when your anniversary, the day, like when your anniversary falls on the, the actual anniversary of your anniversary falls on the day of your, you know what I mean? Like, so we got married on May 16th, 2008. Tomorrow is May 16th. 16 years of marriage. I don't know if that means anything. My wife said it's a golden anniversary. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's correct. But either way, it doesn't matter. To my lovely wife, I will not be on the air here until Friday again, so I can just say happy anniversary to you. I love you very much. I wish she already knows that, but I'm just going to continue to say how much I love my wife. It's one of those things, Dan, where I think that when you look back on it, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are married, and have been married for some time, significant, whatever it might be. My wife's, our story is kind of a unique one, and I'm sure a lot of people say there's unique as well. But so back in 2000 and in 2005, for the first time, I was diagnosed with like a heart arrhythmia called SVT. And the reason I was finally diagnosed with it is I kept collapsing, literally passing out and taken by ambulance to hospitals, and they couldn't figure out why I was having these problems. And finally, the last time I collapsed in 2005, they took me to the hospital, found out that we're going to keep you here longer, did more tests, found out that I had this heart problem, and I had something called a cardioablation. And then they said they solved it, great, won't happen again. And sure as shit, it happened, a couple years later. So back in 2006, it happened to me. 2006, the winter of 2006, it happened to me again. So I went to the doctor. They go, yep, it's happening again. We're going to do this all over again. So I went and I had the surgery at Troy Beaumont Hospital. And then while I was still with my parents, we went to dinner at my sister's restaurant, my younger sister, where she worked. It was the Hooters of Troy. It's where she worked.
The old Hooters.
Old Hooters. No longer there. Now it's another restaurant. But
do they even exist anymore in Michigan?
I don't know. They used to have one in Novi. I don't know if that one's still there. There was one in Roseville. That one's gone. That's now in Azteca. But I don't know. But anyways, went in there and I was having dinner, and obviously there's varying degrees of people at a Hooters, and I happened to my sister came over and she's like, hey, my manager, she thinks you're cute, you should definitely ask her out. And I was like, wasn't really necessarily feeling anything in that moment to do anything specifically to ask anyone out. And I've even told my wife, I go, when I was there, because you're the different servers in there, my wife was wearing a polo shirt, and now the girls for Hooters were all wearing their Hooter girl outfits. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but I was playing softball at the time, and we needed a new sponsor. So I went into the establishment and talked with the general manager at Hooters, and they agreed to sponsor us. And he basically passed it off to Bianca, and she took it over. So she's like, we're going to get you, we got jerseys from Hooters with, it was unbelievable how it was great. And they're like, we're going to come out to your games with Hooter girls and have wings. So our first base and third base coach were Hooter girls for our softball. Everyone loved playing us. Everybody loved playing our team. And then we'd bring wings. We'd have like 100 wings, and they'd be on, so be eaten. We were terrible. We lost every game I think we played that year, but everyone loved playing us. And at that point, I got to know Bianca, and I finally asked her out, and she's like, yeah, well, let's go out. And that was in the summer of 2007. It was like June of 2007 when we went on our first date. We were married in May of 2008. So very quick engagement. But, it's funny because when the day of my wedding, I'll never forget, it was a Friday. And we're at Our Lady Star of the Sea out in Grosse Pointe, right? And the reason why we were there is because our priest, who I grew up with at St. Anastasia, had moved parishes, was now out, and he was in charge of the parish out there. So we're like, let's get married by my the priest that confirmed me and all that kind of. It was pretty cool. But we're sitting in his room that leads out into the main church, and he's like, okay, so tell me the story about how you met Bianca. And I go, well, I mean, we're in a church, I mean, I met her at a Hooters. I mean, he's like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea to talk about right in the middle of all the people, But I go, to be fair, she was the manager of all the Hooter girls, He goes, oh, okay, but anyways, yes. So that is the story of how I met my wife, and we've been married, got 3 beautiful kids, and 16 years tomorrow, Mr. Dan Stickrap. But hey, it's Wednesday. It's MSN Live. We launched this MSN magazine yesterday, Dan. And I had the idea because I want to be able to continue to provide as much content as we can as it relates to soccer. That's really what it's about. And I'm like, what is it that we could create that would be able to accomplish that in buckets? And I'm like, a magazine, an e-magazine. And it's really simple. I mean, when I say it's really simple, it's not necessarily simple to create, but I mean, in the idea and the concept is simple in theory, right? I mean, it's like, to be fair, nobody, I think for the most part, picks up an actual newspaper anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's probably few and far between to have papers delivered to their house, right? So, the likelihood of you seeing a story is more likely on DetroitFreePress.com, right? If you're going to be picking up a magazine at a store, again, that might not be likely as much anymore either. My guess is that you might be reading your magazine on your iPad, your Cosmo or whatever. So I'm like, oh, let's create something that people could look at digitally that's on our website. It's another place for us to have our sponsors get more exposure. But it's also a way for us to be able to create collectibles on some level. Right now, you have this downloadable file because you can download it as part of the program. You can just download it for free. You can have this thing for the rest of your life. MSN Magazine. And the cool thing about it is that it can be whatever we want it to be. Like, we're not limited, right? That's the beautiful thing about when we're in this media world, Dan. We're not limited by anything. We can create our limits, but my goal is to push through those and go as far as we possibly can, to make this thing as awesome as it can be. And that's our goal. I mean, so when you think of what this thing that came out yesterday is, I want you to think bigger than that. It was 46 pages. That's what yesterday was. I mean, I started working on the June issue already. So I started working on that one yesterday. Probably 60 pages, give or take, is what it'll end up being this time. And I don't think it'll always be that long or, whatever. I'm not looking to get length. That's not our goal. Our goal is just to create another place for people to be able to get content from MSN. And this is one of them. We have our digital side of things with our videos, with our recaps, and with our live shows. We've got our website with our, MSN news and what we're doing on the website with all of that. And now we have this other digital component to what we do with the magazine. So we are going to be working on a number of really cool projects within that magazine. One of which will be recruitment with just tips and things like that to be able to help you and your family get you to where you want to go in the game of soccer when it comes to being recruited by coaches. We're going to have a college section here starting next month. We're going to have players of the month at all different levels that we're going to start to do here. Those are all things that we are going to start to put together here in the coming weeks. So that magazine is going to be way, way different here in the coming weeks, just like we are way different than when we first started this thing back in May of 2021. So it's pretty cool.
You still remember the very first game you broadcasted?
I do. It was a Rebels inter squad scrimmage, but the girls' side. pink versus white, or I don't know, red versus white. I remember it very vividly. At Oakland University, it was drizzling outside. We were up in the press box. I brought my iMac, which is so bad that I brought that. But iMac, I brought. I had my shirt. This microphone was the first microphone that I used. I grabbed this whole arm, took it with me to Oakland University, and yeah, just it was terrible. It was terrible. I was trying to use webcams. You could go watch it on our web. It's literally like the first video ever created on this platform, and it was not good. And I admit to that it was not good. But every game, I figured out new ways to do things. New subtle nuances, new graphics, new whatever, and over time, it turned into this. I mean, I can tell you the first time we went from iPads. We used to use iPads for at the start of this from May of 2022. Well, from June of 2021 through October of 2022, we used iPads. We did not switch over to a full-fledged broadcasting platform until then. And our first game was Fraser versus Utica, the boys' game. And the reason why I know this, it was in October of 2022. It was the day after that, like, freshman, there were two kids that were, it was two kids or one kid that was killed at Fraser High School, like in the those two kids got into a knife fight in a home. Yeah. We were there the day after that, and they're like, "Please don't talk about." I'm talking about it now, obviously, but then we said, "Please don't talk." I had no idea it even happened yet, but it was Fraser versus Utica. The game did not end. It ended. There's a couple of red cards, and some players got into a tussle, so they called the game with like 3 minutes to go. So we didn't even finish the game. But that was the first time we moved from iPads to cameras. And then, to go from where we were then using OBS to now using a combination of other programs and software solutions to get our broadcasts out. Had one crew. We now have the ability to send out 3 crews. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool, our growth. But yeah, MSN Magazine is going to evolve. And if you want to contribute to this, there's a great way to do it. And now you'll have your name and your photo and your story in our publication forever. Other cool thing, Dan, is I had a conversation yesterday with a company called Highest Honors. They're located in Troy, and we had someone reach out to us about our one of our feature stories. And was like, "I'd love to get this thing framed." Great. So we got with Highest Honors, and they're going to create 3 different plaques of varying sizes for our stories. And we'll make those available for purchase on our website, where you can purchase a plaque of one of our stories. You just tell us which story you want plaqued, and we'll get it done and have it shipped right to your house. And now you have a memory that is yours forever. Like these our top 50 players that were just announced, on Monday. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. It was Monday afternoon. There's 50 capsules there of players that you talked about, little stories. Imagine having a plaque with your picture on it and that article that Dan wrote, along with our logo for the top 50 on that plaque, for you to have for the rest of your life. Oh, got my heartstrings, Dan. Didn't it get yours? So, those are things that we're finalizing the pricing on, so I'm not going to put that on our website until I know more about it. But the reality is you can have that's history that you can keep forever. And it's a great thing to be able to have. I still have the newspaper clippings, Dan, from articles that you wrote back in the 90s.
Back when I was at the Observer and Center newspapers.
Yeah. I still have clippings of my name, a little brief snippet in the Detroit Free Press, in the Oakland Press, in the Observer and Eccentric, in the Troy Times, the Somerset Gazette. I still have those. They're not plaqued. They're just clippings that we took. Imagine having a cool plaque. So that's something that we're creating as well, which is just really fun. So, Dan, it's 10:39 here in the morning. We got 20 minutes left. We come back. We're going to talk more MSN, talk about upcoming games this weekend, and we'll dive into what's new and exciting happening in the world of soccer here in Michigan. What happened last night? Troy High, for the first time in 20 years, and hard to believe, 20 years since the Troy High girls soccer program have won an OAA Red title. But they did last night. And to be fair, if you asked me at the beginning of this season if Troy High will be hoisting a trophy for the OAA Red, I would not probably have picked them. No, and not because I don't think they were good enough, but because we knew that they were a younger team. But you know what? They found a way in one of the toughest leagues in the state to go out and win a Red title for the first time in 20 years. We'll talk about that and more on MSN Live after this.
Are you looking to take your game to the next level? Did you know that MSN is now offering player recruitment videos? Our packages include a player profile where you show your preferred positions, the club, the league, or school that you play in, your current coach contact information, and more. The highlight videos could be self-submitted, 15 to 30 clips that will be put into a 3 to 7 minute long video. Video review of your Huddle, VO, or other platforms that you might have video on, as well as for an additional charge, MSN can come out and film games for you to create those clips. Our coach evaluation process, which is also an additional charge, where we have college coaches from various levels across the United States that will review your game film and provide feedback on how to improve that film, as well as also evaluating your play and what you can improve on. To learn more about our packages and what we offer, head over to the MichiganSoccerNetwork.com. Remember, your journey starts with a click.
Welcome back into our MSN studios in Shelby Township, Michigan. Jonathan Turner, Dan Stickred. It's MSN Live. It's 57 degrees outside. I am wearing shorts, Dan. So
I thought about it today. I was like looking like we're starting to get days where in the middle of the afternoon it's 65, 70, 80 degrees. I think it's time.
It is time. So Dan, this past Monday I had a chance to head over and back to Flint. We went to Flint this obviously this Saturday to cover the Flint City FC game. But I was invited to Huntington Bank in downtown Flint, right after Main Street, right next to Churchill's, where you and I have spent a lot of nights over the last couple of years after Flint games, and had a chance to watch the meet and greet of the Flint City Bucks and a number of players from Flint City AFC. It was a great event hosted by the Huntington Bank and a number of other local businesses, bringing in food and things like that. But they also they showed the Flint City Bucks like that documentary style clip that they did over the summer. I knew about this whole thing back in March of last year. Costa Papista, who is the general manager president of the Bucks, Dan Duggan, the owner. We had he was talking about how we want to be able to get footage from our games, to the documentary crew. The whole purpose of this was really to kind of tell a story about what Flint, the positive sides of Flint with players coming in and playing soccer. And they showed that video during this gathering on Monday night. And the goal is for them to bring money in. They need $100,000 or $130,000 to be able to continue to record this, so they can turn this into a full-on show. One in which they could pitch to a Netflix or to a streaming platform like that. It's really, really cool. We're going to put a link of the video. We'll make that available here on our social media this afternoon or later on after the show. But the reality is that in order for this thing to continue, there needs to be funding put in place. So that's one of the main core reasons why they showcased this and said, hey, we want to find a way. And the director of the video is like, hey, we need to raise money for us to continue to do this. So we'll talk about that. We're actually going to put some media behind that because we think that story is a good story to tell. And what better way to tell it than through the lens of soccer, right? So, yeah, with all the things that have happened in Flint here over the years, Flint, it's one of those things where I wouldn't say they're forgotten, but it's like a lost city. I think it's considered the fourth largest city now in Michigan. I think you've got, Detroit is number one still. I think right behind them is Warren. I think they're number two. It's Warren and Grand Rapids are like right there. And then I think Flint's down there. Remember, Flint was really just demolished from the sense of population after General Motors and the car manufacturers left Flint, right, back in the mid-'80s.
Especially in the 80s. I mean,
yeah.
You go back to like the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, there was several 100,000 people inside the city limits.
Well, there were, and so when businesses leave and when manufacturing closes, what's left behind is people looking for jobs, and then what happens is crime happens, right? Other things start to happen, and obviously back here right before COVID, the whole Flint water crisis thing happened. I think it happened right before COVID, like 2017, somewhere in that neighborhood, and that obviously put a black mark, another black mark on Flint, and. The world lurked. If you think about Flint now, it's known as the place that's got bad water. I mean, that's what it's known for. It's way more different than that, though. I mean, we're down there. We're down there a lot. I mean, and yeah, hey, there's some rough spots. There's rough spots everywhere. I can go to the rough spot of Troy. There's still a spot in Troy that's rough. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to argue that. But Flint is way better than the water issue. The people there, you see these people who are working, they're working so hard to change the narrative. The Bucs moved their team from Auburn Hills, Michigan to Flint. They're working within the community to make that community a better place. And Costa and the Bucs and Flint City FC, they're doing a fantastic job. And this documentary, this story, is a story that people should hear. And it's a positive one. And maybe that's probably not going to work for mass population, because I think we like to live on the negative side of things, Dan. I mean, but look at Wrexham. Wrexham is a feel-good story. It's a great story. A team that was, in the 5th division, now have made their way up to the 3rd division in 2 consecutive years. It's a great story. Ted Lasso. What a great story that is, right? Why can't Flint have the same story? Why can't they have their happy ending? Right? I mean, you've got a team down there where you've got, players coming from Poland, South Africa, Jamaica, England, Haiti, just to name a few of the players on the roster. They literally were born and raised in those countries, play their college ball here in the United States, and are now here in Michigan, in Flint, playing soccer for the Bucs this summer. That's pretty cool. So we'll post the link to the video. It's 7 minutes long. It's a great little video. You'll hear me in there a little bit, which is nice. It's a cool video, and So I just think that there needs to be more positive light shined on the city of Flint. And hey, while I do think that for the story to really, and I told this to Costa on Monday, I'm like, I think for this thing to really get some, it has to be like a before and after. If you just tell a story about a team in Flint, it probably won't sell. But if you tell a story about, hey, yeah, we were the city with crime. We are a city that has it, but this is what we are now. That's a story that people can get around. People love those stories. Rebuilding, right? Look at the city of Detroit. City of Detroit 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is nothing like it is now. Nothing.
No, they're trying.
They are really. It's a completely different city. So, yes, you go outside the downtown area, you're going to start to get into some places, especially on the east side. Get some places that are a little sketchy. But I think you go to any major town in the United States, that's a reality too. So, but downtown was a place that was not a place that people go to. But with all the sports teams down there now, with the sports district, right? We got Comerica Park and Ford Field and Little Caesars Arena, all within walking distance. You've got the Fisher Theater. You've got the Fox Theater. You've got all these great environments, along with all the new shops that are down there, the new hotels. All these things have really changed the dynamic of Detroit. And the same thing can be true in Flint. People just need to hear about it and need to go down there and experience it. So we'll post that to our social media here this afternoon, 10:50 here this morning. And before the break, we talked about Troy High. First time in 20 years.
And it's amazing to think about that because Troy High, I think, was state runner-up in Division I in 2011. I think they won it in 2012. And they're always good. And they were a little bit young last year and this year. But, and it's funny because that league is so strong, high school, even the way the atmosphere is today where everyone loses some of their better players to Girls Academy or ECNL. But they went 20 years without winning that league. And it's strange because 3 years ago, Troy Athens was your state runner-up. They didn't win the league that year.
Well,
the last 2 years, Rochester High won it. Rochester High got to the Final Four, but Bloomfield Hills was third. They went on the other side of the bracket out west, and they ended up winning the state championship. Last year, Stony Creek finished second to Rochester by a point. They tied in the last night of the regular season, and they turn around, and they go on a run and win the state championship.
Look at the boys' side, though.
Yeah.
Last year, Troy Athens won the state championship. Oxford won the red.
Right.
First time ever. Right? That we were there the night they won it. Right? So they won it. The year Rochester Adams won the state championship. Did they win the red?
No, they were third or fourth.
Yeah.
There was 6 ranked teams in the top 15 out of that conference.
And if you put it into perspective, last year, Stony Creek won the state championship. They did not win the red. They did not win the red either. So we could look at this and say, and if you look at all the state champions in the last 2 years, just the last 2 years, on both the boys and the girls' side, I do believe it was OAA.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
We had swept the last 2 school years.
Yeah, that's right. So Bloomfield Hills and Stony Creek won it the last 2 years in the girls' side. And then the boys' side was Athens and Adams. Right? So, when you say, well, is the OAA one of the best? Yes, they are one of the best, if not and in the last 2 years, they've been the best league in the country. In the state, not country, but the state. Sorry. But, hey, with the likes of Utica Eisenhower in the MAC, who've been ranked for most of the season.
And I think they'll clinch the MAC Red tonight if they win, I believe.
Yeah, they're playing Dakota tonight. Dakota's not a down year for them. On the girls' side, Dakota's been they've been a strong program over the last, decade and a half. Not as strong this season with their program, but either way, you have a chance here tonight to go clinch that and win the league. Romeo's been having there are teams in the MAC that are very well capable. The thing about the MAC and about that side of town is a lot of times what will end up happening is because of where the districts are, you end up finding yourself into a regional semifinal fairly easy if you can get out of your district. You know what I mean? Like, and when I say get out, there's like, Anchor Bay. We've seen it every year in the boys' side. Anchor Bay typically makes their way into a regional semifinal or even a regional final because their district is not that difficult, because there's so many teams in Macomb County. I mean, there's like 9 divisions. How many divisions are there? Conferences are there?
There's 5 divisions right now.
It seems like there's so many more than that, though.
The Ottawa-Kent Conference, which is, Grand Rapids, Muskegon, has 6, and they're going to go through a change here this summer. A lot of schools are going to be moving divisions out there, but has to do with every sport. And
yeah.
A lot of the OAA Max schools is based on every individual sport. You're in a different division.
Yeah.
But it's that time of year. We're going to see about 60 schools claim champions from the end of last week through next Tuesday and Wednesday night. Hats off to Livonia Stevenson. They weren't picked to win the KLAA East perennial power, but everyone kept talking about Belleville and Dearborn this year. Dearborn had the lead beginning of last week, but Livonia Stevenson jettisoned from third up to the first last night. Heartland, the KLAA West champions last night. They beat Plymouth 2-0.
They've been ranked all year.
They've got 3 very good players on that roster and a couple really nice underclassmen. That's a tough league. I mean, Salem and Canton are both really good, and so is Heartland. And those 3 teams could make runs. Northville's been in the Final Four the last 2 years. They've struggled early in the year. Northville, they graduated 7th. They lost 2 of their better players that left for various reasons. But Northville's still good. Brighton won a district last year. They've got a lot of players back. They're solid. It's a lot like the OAA Red, where unfortunately Howell just doesn't seem to have the numbers to compete in soccer. But the other 7 schools are all quality, year in and year out. I mean, there's a lot of ties and 1-goal games in that conference as well. So those 2 teams, Heartland, Livonia, Stevenson, I believe they'll play in the KLAA crossover championship game. I think that's on Monday. Wall Lake Northern plays South Lyon East in the Lakes Valley Conference Championship later this week. Tonight, Portage Central won the regular season of the Southwestern Michigan Athletic Conference. They play Richmond Gold Lake in their conference championship. That's tonight on the west side. And Gold Lake actually was the only team to beat Portage Central in that 10-school conference 2-1, about a month ago. And in conference champions, like I said, there's so many. The Ottawa-Kent Conference has their tournaments going on. We saw number 1 Hudsonville get knocked off on Monday. 0-0 with Grand Haven. They ended up losing 1-0 on PKs. 3-0 was the deciding on penalty kicks. So I think Rockford is the only unbeaten team in Division I. They were second in regular season conference standings of the Ottawa-Kent Conference Red Division. They're going to play Grand Haven later this week in the conference final there. Rockford has 5 ties. They haven't lost a game yet this year. And I don't know, sometimes that's a bad omen to go into that tournament. How many times in the last 15, 20 years have we seen an unbeaten team go into the state tournament, but they don't win? It's pressure. I mean, it's got to be
I mean,
pressure.
and that's why I said to you, and there were, in 1997, Troy Athens, I was a member of, we won the state championship. We were, I think, going into the playoffs. I think we ended up being, that year 10-4-4 overall. I think so. We went in. I think that's what we were. Again, I'd have to look back at the record, but maybe we were 10-4-4, and we ended up being with the 7 making it 17-4-4. Maybe that's what it ended up being.
That was a tough district.
It was we went through Brother Rice, we went through Troy High, and we went through
Rochester Adams in the final.
Rochester Adams. So it was a very, very difficult district, nonetheless. But we're not expected to win that one. In the next year, we won everything. We got to the semifinals, lost to Novi. And then in my senior year, I think we were undefeated for a good chunk of that year. We had not lost. If we lost 1 game. We were very good. And the only team we had lost to was Rochester Adams. Rochester Adams was the team that ended up winning that season.
Yeah, they won it all.
Yeah, won it all.
They had 18 seniors.
Simone Omanaconda, right, and Paul Omanaconda were all on the same team, right? So it was just they had a very good team.
They had like 9 kids on that roster went on to play eventually because they were in different grades, but went on to play.
It was just an
Division I college soccer. It
was an unbelievable roster. So, but again, I mean, you're just looking at it from that standpoint. You know, the reality is that I think, you know, you got to taste a little bit of loss, and a little bit of, and again, a loss doesn't necessarily be losing a game. It could be a player you lose, but you have to experience some kind of an uphill battle, some adversity in a season in order for you to really understand how to overcome that and go on to win. So I think losing a game, like Hudsonville losing a game here this week, probably bode well for them here coming, you know, later on in this tournament. They lost last year in the state finals. Right, so I mean, you know, they got that on their shoulder. You know, that's a team that I would not want to face in the playoffs on any level. You know, so but either way, Dan, it's 11 o'clock. MSN Live's episode here today for the 15th is in the books. In the books, we're going to talk about our schedule here real quick. A busy one. Friday, Midwest Premier League matchup: Michigan Stars versus Liquid football is on at 7:30 on Friday night. We'll be doing that game on Friday night. Saturday, Catholic League finals, all 3 of them. Bishop, Cardinal, St. Anne's. 10, noon, 2 from Shrine High School. At 7 o'clock on Saturday, Michigan Stars Pro will take on Club de Leon. Live, MSN. 8 p.m. on Saturday, UPSL matchup, game of the week. Alianza FC is taking on Dearborn United from Livonia. So those games happening at the same time. Sunday, our first ever Women's Premier Soccer League matchup, WPSL, Corktown WFC versus Columbus Eagles, 5:30 p.m. Then, back in Waterford, Inter Detroit welcomes in, I think who it was that they play. I'm drawing a blank. I'm sure it'll come to me in a moment. But they play at 7:30 on Sunday night. So 8 games, all this weekend, all here on the Michigan Soccer Network.
And I think we have our last high school ranking show. We did not do one last week. I was a little under.
It was Mother's Day.
I was under the weather. It was Mother's Day.
We gave everybody a break.
Yep.
But we are going to do that show this week. It's going to be pre-recorded because, as you can tell, we're slightly busy here this May weekend. But, hey, it's going to be a pre-recorded. We're also going to do a high school playoff preview show here with the early next week. We'll do that one pre-recorded as well. But that way we can talk about the playoff matchups and all the things and all the exciting things associated with districts. So.
And I'll be reaching out to as many conference champions as I can as the high school season starts to wind down. I mean, the pre-districts are Wednesday through Friday of next week, and then a lot of teams obviously got buys, but I was looking at some of these draws in districts. It's like, who do you pick? I mean, yeah, there are some out there. It's like it's almost a foregone conclusion, but I spoke to the Richland Goal A coach last night, Jeff Corstains, and he was talking about, you know, Plainwell was the Final Four team last year there in their district. Middleville, Thornapple, Kellogg. It's been ranked almost all year. Senior heavy team, brought back 20 kids. They're in their district, and it's like all 3 of those teams had great years. There's a lot of college players. There's Division I, Division II players on those rosters. Plainwell has one of the best freshmen in Michigan. But who do you pick in some of these districts? I mean, there's going to be some great battles the next week and a half, 2 weeks.
There will be. And we will try to give you a couple of them here on MSN. We'll talk about that and so much more. But hey, for Dan Stickrat, I'm Jonathan Turner. You've been watching MSN Live here on this Wednesday morning. Coming up right now is the UPSL recap show, week number 3, here on MSN's YouTube channel. I want to thank everyone for tuning in here. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share. Go read our magazine, okay? We know when you read it because it tells us. So go read it. And we'll have more news stories coming your way here throughout the day today. Again, thank you very much. And from all of us here at the Michigan Soccer Network, so long, everybody.